Are you ready for it? You ready for it, Larry?
Let's do it.
Here. You ready for, oh my gosh, you're such a homer. You ready for it?
Yes.
I would totally take Purdy over Lamar Jackson. The more important part is that we can even have the conversation. If you'd had the conversation a little bit ago, that would have been crazy talk. But people still get a little bugged when Brock Purdy gets compared to, whenever we bring up those names, right? Oh, the top quarterbacks in the game. You notice Lamar's name never comes up, which is kind of odd. And maybe it's because of his different style of play. But all you hear is Mahomes and Allen. Mahomes and Allen. Then sometimes people throw in like Hurts and Herbert. Sometimes. Burrow, okay. Out of sight, out of mind.
I like Burrow more than
yeah,
those.
I agree, but out of sight, out of mind with the injury. You don't hear people bring up Lamar. And I don't know where this is going as far as comparing Purdy to some of the other top guys in the game. We inch closer to it each time because his numbers suggest that you should. And for those of us who actually watch the games, we can easily debunk stupid stuff like dink and dunk and bubble screen and all of that. Running the system, all of that stuff is just absurd if you actually watch the game. So there's that side of it, but I think of it a different way. You notice the way the Ravens have started to throw the ball a little bit more this year, and you get why. Lamar Jackson is someone who every time he plays, I have a high level of worry that he's not going to make it through the game because he does run a lot and because he almost never, even when he's still in the pocket, he almost never just takes the sack. Because if you're Lamar and you have that kind of athleticism, you always think you can get away.
Extend the play. He ran 4.3 coming out of Louisville.
I mean, he's a star. Yeah. So you always think you can get away. And that to me is so dangerous in terms of the staying power of his career and who does he become when he loses a step. So if you ask me right now, sign up for the next 7 years of, and then fill in the blank as your quarterback, Brock Purdy or Lamar Jackson, I'm going Brock Purdy. I think Brock moves around, but I think he plays a relatively, as much as you can, a safe brand of the position.
Yeah.
That's why I'd answer that way.
I mean, I'm a big Lamar fan, but to me, I think it's interesting. You said he doesn't get the respect of the other guys. It's because he hasn't gotten it done in the playoffs.
He's won an MVP, though.
He's won an MVP, but he hasn't gotten it done in the playoffs.
Well,
your reputation is made in the playoffs. That's where regular season's nice, but who you are as a player, I think, is cemented by what you do in the playoffs. He's 1-3 in the playoffs. Brock Purdy is technically 2-1, but he's really 2-0 in the playoffs because that Philly game last year. And then, if you look in the regular season, Brock's 17-3 if you count the Miami game as a win for him, and I would. Lamar's 56-19, both really good numbers. Those are excellent numbers. But if you look at the numbers this year, Brock's better. I mean, just better. I mean, if numbers mean anything to you, pick your number. Completion percentage, Lamar's at 66.3, Brock's at 69.8. Touchdowns, Lamar's at 17 passing touchdowns, Brock's thrown 29. Picks are both the same, 7 apiece. If yards per attempt is, for me, that's my stat. That's the stat I always look at. Lamar's is 7.7 yards per attempt. Purdy's 9.9. He drops back to pass. He completes a pass. It's a first down. And then passer rating. Lamar's at 96.5. Purdy's at 119. 119. Yeah. Then you look at the efficiency. Brock Purdy's doing this despite the fact he's not really throwing the ball in the fourth quarter. His numbers, Brock Purdy, I think, is discounted for a couple reasons. One, his draft position.
Draftism.
You talked about that, draftism. The other one is just people just look at him and just don't see the big strapping 6'5" guy with the broad shoulders and just immediately are like, this guy can't be it.
Mm-hmm.
But in reality, he's so good. When you watch him as much as we have, he's so good that he makes it look easy.
Mm-hmm.
And what was the reminder of that is when he missed 2 plays And they were Sam Darnold last week.
Totally.
And it's like the same weapons, same coach, same everything, same offense. You literally just subbed in a new quarterback, and the release is a little bit late. And the ball's a little bit high. And suddenly it's like, it doesn't look so automatic, does it? Brock makes it look really, really easy. And then Brock's numbers are deflated by the fact that they're blowing teams out in the fourth quarter. So you've got the quarterback that has the best numbers, who's the most efficient, but makes it look super easy. And then his numbers are a little bit deflated by the fact that they're getting it done in 3.5 quarters. I think those are the factors that make people go, well, maybe Prescott, maybe this guy, maybe that guy. In reality, I'm shocked by it and I thought Brock was good last year, but MVP in his second year, that's what we're talking about. That's really an unbelievable thing if you think about it. It's
unbelievable, and he's, I would argue, one win away. When people go, oh, Lamar has achieved a lot in the league. Well, Purdy's probably one win away from achieving the same thing, which is an MVP.
He's got more playoff wins already.
Already got more playoff wins. It's just fascinating to me. We do this a lot, obviously, but when you look at the production he's getting and people would want for another quarterback, how can you? How can you? I don't know who the best quarterback in the league is. Patrick Mahomes is the face. That's who I'd pick. But I know who is by far and away having the best season, and that's Brock Purdy. So why would you want for anything? Oh, I would definitely take Lamar. You would? Why? Why? And here, you want to know?
He might do amazing things in Kyle's offense.
But Brock's doing amazing things in Kyle's offense.
But Lamar, because of the speed, because of the skill set, but it makes you wonder, because Lamar is such a dangerous open field runner. I understand why people
Brock's a better thrower. Brock's a better thrower than Lamar.
Right, and Brock's quick. That's the other thing that people just don't give Brock a lot on, is that he's a much better athlete than people think.
Oh, no question. I think it surprised everybody. Every game where he would buy time or even just run around the edge for 10 yards or whatever, I was like, oh my gosh. He's faster than Lance.
Yeah.
And you got Lance to be a dual threat quarterback. Look, to me, here's another one. This is an extension of the silly, ridiculous statements, the system quarterback, the product, all of that stuff that people say. Here's another one that's really starting to get me. And it's the idea of what a player has around him. Okay, what Brock has around him. I even just saw, and it flew by. I didn't even get a chance to see who did it. But someone just commented on our YouTube. Well, Brock's got the best rushing team in the NFL.
No, he doesn't.
No, Lamar does.
Lamar has the best rushing team.
Now you're going to say, well, no part of that is Lamar because of his rushing stats. It's a fair retort, but the bottom line is the bottom line. The production out of the rush game, Ravens #1 in the NFL.
Right.
And please stop with he doesn't have weapons. This kid Zay Flowers is fantastic. He had who people would think is the second best receiving tight end in the game until he got hurt in Mark Andrews. He's got Odell Beckham. This guy was for years an NFL 1 at a wide receiver.
Oh, he's got 4 good receivers.
He's got a bevy of, right. Even going to Bateman and the rest, a bevy of good running backs. The production is there.
And I don't remember anybody saying this about Steve Young.
No, thank you. Joe Montana, hello.
These guys had awesome surrounding casts.
Jalen Hurts receiving core? Are you kidding me?
Right.
Yes, the good teams have good weapons. So the idea, I don't know why that only gets hung around Purdy's. Oh, look at all he has at his disposal. Right.
He's not a game changer.
Yes, he is. He's changed their game, has he not?
But that was the Cam Newton.
I know.
He's not a game Brock Purdy. He's not a game changer.
No,
he's a game manager.
I don't know.
But then he doubled down and said, Tom Brady, Peyton Manning, we're also game managers. So I don't know what Cam was talking about. And Cam, by the way, only had 3 winning seasons and 7 losing seasons in his career and didn't fall in the fumble in the Super Bowl. To me, that's the defining moment.
Sure.
But I don't know that Cam knew what he wanted to say when he said that, when he started going down that road. But yeah, no, it's easy to look at Purdy and just be like, hey, Debo, Ayuk, Kittle. He does. He's got a great group of weapons. But he's also doing this behind an offensive line that's bottom third of the league in pass block win rate. which is kind of the key O-line metric. So, the other one, too, that always kills me is that there's people that are like, they'll be rough on Kyle Shanahan until it's time to talk about Brock Purdy. Then all of a sudden, Kyle Shanahan is not doing this. Kyle Shanahan's not doing that.
Right.
And then all of a sudden, but he's got Kyle Shanahan.
Yeah, Kyle Shanahan's system.
Which
is so great.
Well, can we decide?
It's so great.
Yeah.
Right.
And then, nobody ever says anything about Andy Reid and the system that, Mahomes had Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce and Isaiah Pacheco.
Can we stop denigrating, and I don't mean this about Purdy, I mean it about anyone. Can we stop denigrating athletes who have a hard time functioning the same when everything crumbles around them? That is not a Purdy thing. That's just a thing. Watch Patrick Mahomes this year and explain to me how, but he can carry the team by himself.
He lost a Super Bowl.
Can he? They can't get to 20 points most games. Can he? He's the face of the league. And the Chiefs can't get to 20 points most of the time when they play. Why? Because he doesn't have a receiver who can catch.
Right.
So, how about Steph Curry? What happened? KD left. Clay got hurt. Draymond's hurt. What happened? Number 2 pick in the draft.
How about Mahomes losing a Super Bowl? Why? He didn't have 2 offensive tackles. They were down.
Everybody gets worse when good people around you go away. Everybody. Was it 2 years ago that LeBron didn't even make the playoffs? They didn't even make the playoffs.
Yeah.
So
these are team sports.
Yes. You can't just do it it's funny. We want those great athletes. You got to be able to carry your team, but then we have no problem when that athlete looks at their GM and goes, trade me because you won't give me any help.
Well, and also...
Dame Lillard, why can't you just carry him by yourself? Why do you need to go join someone else?
We forget, too, Joe Montana won the Super Bowl in 81. He didn't win it in 82. He didn't win it in 83. He didn't win it in 85. He didn't win it in 86. He didn't win it in 87. He didn't win it in 90. He didn't win it in 91. Sometimes...
Yeah.
It's he won the Super Bowl, and he had some incredible years, but they didn't win the Super Bowl every year because it's a team game. Right. And one of those years, and the other thing is, there's a reason they have parades that are really expensive in the middle of, trying economic times, and they still have gigantic parades. Why? Because it's a monumental achievement. And also, you got all these teams striving for the same goal. You know what? You could be really, really special, and the Niners were almost every year in the 80s. But 85, the Bears were more special.
Totally.
86, the Giants were more special. 87, the Redskins were more special. You know what I'm saying? 90, the Giants were more special. The Niners were awesome in the early 90s with Steve Young, but the Cowboys were better. So, it's a team game. And nobody, the team that Montana had when he won his last Super Bowl, Tom Rathman, Roger Craig, Jerry Rice, John Taylor, Brent Jones. It's an amazing cast.
Loaded.
The Steve Young team. Take out Craig and Rathman. Take out Craig and Rathman and put in Ricky Waters and bar none. And you had the same Brent Jones, John Taylor, Jerry Rice, and you had Dion and BY and all these great players on defense. It's a team game. Brock's not doing it by himself. But he definitely is playing. To me, a scouting buddy of mine called me 2 weeks ago, and he said, and I think it was after the Ayuk play, and he said, man, this guy's really into the esoteric stuff, but he's like, man, Brock's feet. He's one of the only quarterbacks I've seen in the last 5 or 10 years who has both really, really quick feet and really, really quiet feet. And
That's interesting.
What he meant by is just he can elude the rush and move it and get to a spot when you rush him. But then when he's not being rushed, his feet are very calm. He knows every step is kind of well choreographed. He doesn't have the pitter-patter Jimmy Garoppolo kind of hectic, helter-skelter kind of feeling. He's very calm. But then if he needs to move quickly and get out of there, he can. I
always try to share this history lesson whenever I can. I don't like to have to go back this far to do it, but in this case, I think it's fair. People don't know that Michael Jordan's career with the Bulls actually started in 1984. Most fans think it started in 1991 when they won a championship.
Right.
But it turns out that for 7 years, he did not win.
He scored 63 in the playoffs against the Celtics and lost.
This is a fact now. I know. Crazy, right? Did you know that Michael Jordan played more than 6 years? I know he's got 6 rings, but he did. He played in those years and didn't even make it to the finals. Oh, that's my favorite one. LeBron lost in the finals. Michael didn't even make it. He didn't even make it because they weren't a team yet. So this is one that we got to start knocking this down. I'm tired of knocking athletes when it's like, oh, they didn't put the whole team on their back, or they didn't elevate, or they didn't do it by themselves, or this like, oh my gosh, they lost key players and they got worse. Yeah, right. That's how it works.
Well,
that's why we're sitting here worried about McCaffrey and his knee, and we're worried about Armstead and his foot, and we're worried about Hargrave and his hamstring, because if they don't play, the Niners are lesser. Did you watch the Cardinals go for 5 a carry or 6 a carry or whatever the hell it was?
Right.
Because their 2 D tackles were out and you become a worse product. That's just it's not a slight on an individual. I mean, maybe we can have this conversation in baseball. Maybe.
Well, and then the other part of this, I think, do you think Joe Montana knows something about playing quarterback?
Yes.
Yeah, I would say too. That Joe probably knows a little something about playing quarterback. Guess who he says is the best quarterback? Dan Marino. And he never won. So what does that tell you? It tells you that, you know what, you could be the greatest quarterback of all time, potentially. And Dan Marino was right there with the greatest quarterbacks of all time. I don't care. I don't care that he doesn't wear rings. I really don't care. He's one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time. There's no doubt. Now, is he the best? According to a guy that I consider the best, Joe, he considers Marino the best. So, you know what? We're all going to sit there that no, Joe, you don't know quarterbacks.
Well, what? Charles Barkley was no good.
Right.
Patrick Ewing was no good. Lamar Jackson.
Yeah.
Lamar Jackson's fantastic. He's flipping fantastic. He has 1 playoff win.
Right. In 4 tries.
Yeah. And we're supposed to say not a good player because he hasn't done that. We reserve it by, like, I know you've noticed this. We reserve it for only certain people. Like, you know what I mean?
We're a very all or nothing kind of a world now.
I see. I think it's your branding and what's around you and the amount of talk. Lamar's in Baltimore. You don't hear a lot of people trying to like jam Lamar down your throat. But like Dak Prescott, I don't know if he's great. He's really good. Dak Prescott's a really good quarterback. He's not quite good enough so far in his career, but by the same token,
wasn't great against the Niners this year.
He's actually not usually good when they play a good team. He wasn't very good against the Bills.
They're kind of a bully team.
That's true. But like, there are reasons. It's not just be like, okay, you haven't won the final prize, or you haven't won a ton of playoff games. It's not A to B. Okay, that means you're not good. There's more to that conversation, is all I'm saying, with each player.
Yeah. And also, I would say the other thing that makes should vault Brock Purdy higher in your eyes is it's always in sports, it's like at what stage. The fact is, Brock Purdy's a second-year quarterback who's 23. You saw Richard Sherman point that out. That's Steve Young was a great Niner. He wasn't really great until like 31. So
right.
People have already decided that Trey Lance is a bust and it's going to be terrible and he's never going to have a career. And I personally don't subscribe to that theory either. It takes some people a lot of time, but the guys who can do it at a young age, that really shows. I'm not saying that a second-year quarterback, comparing him to a fifth-year quarterback is like comparing a second grader and a fifth grader, but there's development. And I always thought it was funny this offseason, one of the key things that people kept bringing up, Brock's unlikely to get better. What? Why?
Oh, gosh. We did that all offseason.
And I asked Brock at the first minicamp, I said, Brock, how are you now compared to this point last year? And he was like, oh, God.
It's not even close.
Night and day. Last year, he's like, I couldn't even remember the plays I just was concentrating on spitting out the right verbiage at the line of scrimmage and getting the plays voiced correctly. Now, I'm in step with my receivers. I know who's quick in and out of their breaks. I know the nuances involved with each and every play. So, I mean, he's improved dramatically from one year to the next. 3 years from now, he's going to be quite a bit better than he is right now.
Thank you. This was now, Dibs and I did this a lot in the offseason because he kept saying that. I think that he's already at his best. And I'm like, how is that even possible? Like, what was it about Brock Purdy or any player for that matter, which was kind of my retort? Why at age 23 with a sum total of about 11 games under your belt, how on earth would that be the ceiling? Well, like,
and
whatever
forget
you
football,
see,
it could be any job. It could be this job.
You got to get better.
Are you telling me the third show you did was as good as the shows that you do
I remember it
now
was a good
on a regular
show.
basis?
It was a really good show. But
it was an amazing show.
No, I was an idiot.
Right.
I didn't even know what I was doing.
Right. You're just kind of you trial and error. That's how most people learn.
Yeah.
And anybody and that's the same for everybody. If you're a mechanic, the first time you rebuilt a carburetor, you probably aren't as good at it as you would be after you did it 100 times. We all learn through life experiences, and you get better. Or you get worse if you really don't care about it. But if you care about it, you're going to get better
for sure.